All right, well, we were looking at the possibility after the Cardinals beat Miami of could they maybe get to 6-4 going into the bye week. They're halfway there, Wolf. They've already got the first win over Chicago. Now they face I don't know, how would you describe the Jets? Dysfunctional but talented?
Yes,
okay,
exactly. They are so good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I know everyone talks about Aaron Rodgers. That's where you start. I understand that. But, man, when you look at their depth chart on the defensive side of the ball, the New York Jets abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
This is a team going into the season. I did not understand the hype of they were favored in Vegas to win that division, and they'll probably finish second. I think I probably would have had them third. Honestly, I would have had them behind Miami too. But what you're saying about the defense, I thought this would be like a top 3 or 4 defense in the NFL. And they're not that right now, but that doesn't change the fact that they have the pieces that on any given week they can make your life real tough if you're on offense.
Like, what do you mean? C.J. Mosley, Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Javon Kinlaw, Hassan Reddick. Are you kidding me?
Just the fact that they have a Quincy Williams and a Quinnen Williams. That right there, both coming after the quarterback.
I'm talking about 2 really, really good inside linebackers that play behind 2 really, really good defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Abandon all. I'm serious right now. They are really, really good. Now, they're really good in terms of getting after the quarterback. Really, really good in terms of covering downfield. This is the strength of their team. Number 2 in passing yards per game. Number 3 in passing yards per play. And sacks per attempt. Number 2 in the National Football League. They get after you. Just like the Chicago Bears, and oh, by the way, the Miami Dolphins. This is 3 games now. Very, very similar defenses in terms of them being really, really good stopping the pass. And there's no doubt, it's not like Kyler Murray threw for, 300 yards against the Bears like he did the week before against the Dolphins. You're going to have to be able to run the ball against the Jets. If you want to do anything, if you want to make any noise whatsoever in this game in terms of winning it, it's got to be you running the ball, in my opinion.
Now, you flip it around, and there is Aaron Rodgers out there, and Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show, which I think he basically co-hosts at this point, brought up one Cardinal in particular that he's going to be aware of on Sunday.
Watching Budda Baker on film, that's impressive. I mean, he's a really impressive guy. He does so many different things, DB. You got to love watching this guy. He shows up all over the place. He lines up in different spots. He's run all over the place. He's a phenomenal tackler. He throws his body around. He reminds me, and I want to say this with a ton of respect because I used to love this guy, but Bob Sanders. Bob was such a wild man out there. I mean, he was not the biggest dude, but he threw himself around. He always was around the pile. Big hits, great tackler. But, man, Baker, he's a special player. He's fun to watch on film, and he's definitely a guy you got to be aware of.
Can you imagine?
All true.
Can you imagine right there? You're Budda Baker, and you just heard Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, is going to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about it. He is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Just say what he said about you. I talk about it all the time. Budda Baker challenges you as a man base audience, challenges you out on the football field when you're standing on the sideline just watching him play. And it's not just his guys, it's the opponents as well. Isn't that right, Mike Tomlin?
The amount of players, I think who was that? I think it was actually Jim Omohundro had this. He had tweeted out some of the players that were mic'd up this season facing the Cardinals and some of the stuff they were saying about Budda Baker either during the game or before the game or after the game. Like, they're just crazy respect that opponents have for Budda Baker, which is it's not surprising. It's not anything new, but I just feel like we're hearing it a little bit more this year. And that right there from Aaron Rodgers, like, we all hear Aaron Rodgers talk all the time because he seems to be in front of a microphone more than anybody in the country. But the tone there was different, wasn't it? That felt like he was just like, I'm talking about football, and this guy's really good, man. This is awesome.
Like, the respect was really there, right?
It didn't seem like a prepared statement or like he had to talk or anything.
Yeah, and, this is the way that he plays. It's incredible. I said this, I believe, last week, but I said this about Budda Baker and watching him on tape. He is the best football player. Nobody's better. Nobody's better than Budda Baker. No, as a football player. Again, I understand as a safety, you'd like him to make more plays on the ball. I totally understand what you're saying. For me, a football player is a guy that engages the essence of the game. And the essence of the game is physicality. The essence of the game is I am trying to push you literally to a point where if you fall on your back and I land on top of you, it doesn't get any better than that on a football field, okay? That's what the game is about. The essence of the game is about the line of scrimmage and being physical and blocking and tackling. And you watch Budda Baker go about his business. I don't think I've ever seen a better player, a better football player than Budda Baker.
Here's more from Aaron Rodgers on Budda.
There's a few secondary guys over the years where you're like, okay, I got to know where this guy's at before the snap. Palomalu was always like that. Ed Reed was always like that. C. Wood, I felt like, was always that kind of guy. Rondé Barber was that kind of guy. Harrison Smith, in Minnesota forever because he's such a great disguiser and all over the place. And Budda is one of those guys. You just got to know where he's at because I'm excited about the challenge, but I have a ton of respect for his game. And the tape doesn't lie, they always say, and his tape looks pretty damn good.
How about the first two names he threw out there? Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed. Like Polamalu and Ed Reed. I mean, at least in my time watching football, maybe the two best safeties I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And Budda's up there, man. He's up there.
And what's so cool is, the Cardinals are using him in ways that allows him to play around the box more this year than I've seen in the past, okay?
I'm glad you said that because it does feel like this defense has kind of allowed him to play to his strengths even more.
Absolutely. And for me, I'd love to see them develop a little bit more where they go man across the board. It's called robber coverage. They put a free safety in the middle of the field, and that robber is the lurker down low. And that's Budda Baker. Have they done it? Of course, they've done it with him. I'd like to see a little bit more of it in terms of when they go man. But it's so cool, too, because you'll see Garrett Williams. Drop off into coverage. A deep half, Basin needs cover two. You'll see him line up. He's not lined up as a cover two safety, and all of a sudden you'll see him drop off, and you'll see Budda rotate. This is what I love about the game, and the fact they're doing it more. It's awesome for Budda Baker and also Garrett Williams as well because he's got a natural feel for playing that deep half. And he plays it really, really well.
Yeah, those two complement each other really well because Garrett Williams kind of allows Budda to do some of the crazy stuff he's been doing this year. What do you think Nick Rawlis, when he first sat down with this job? It's like, okay, what do I got to work with on defense? I got Budda Baker. Isn't that the first thing you're thinking as a defensive coordinator? How do I get the absolute most out of this guy?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And again, it's just watching him play and the way that other people feel when they watch him play. Again, he challenges everybody, especially the guys in your locker room because they know him personally, okay? But even the other team, as I've talked about many, many times, what are you doing if you're not playing the way Budda Baker is playing? What are you doing? Why aren't you flying around making plays? It begs the question every time you watch him. But for guys that are on his team who actually know him personally, and know what he's like, the impact of a Budda Baker in the locker room can't be measured with human hands.
Yeah, it does sort of just raise the level of play on the field across the board if Budda's out there. Because like you're saying, if you're a teammate, well, you got to keep up. How are you not going to give maximum effort if he's out there doing it every single play? But if you're an opponent, if you don't do it, then you're just going to get embarrassed. He's going to do something that just makes you look silly. So you almost have to raise your game too.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.